Goodness me, some of the rascals down in the comments have learnt nothing in 3 years of me being on YouTube. Just because I don't play Football Manager your way doesn't mean I'm playing it the wrong way. And all of these frankly ridiculous predictions that my back-to-back Premier League winning side might just struggle to qualify for the Champions League this year. It's all over, it's all gone wrong, you can't win anything, Kev. This is the best squad we've ever had. And we've won the Premier League the last 2 years in a row. Thus concludes Kev's reality check of the week. Hello and welcome to part 185 of Backing the Boro. I'm Kev, and coming up on today's episode we have a big Premier League game at home against Arsenal, where that whole intro can make me look like a right idiot if it goes wrong. Plus a Champions League game at home against Leverkusen. Since you were last with me, things have been going really rather well. Defeat against Tottenham aside, and we were 4-0 down in that game. We had a massive comeback but couldn't quite claw our way back into the game. But other than that, we've won every game this season in both the Premier League and the Champions League. So in October, this is what the Premier League looks like. 7 games in, we are top of the league, level on points with Arsenal, who we play now. So nice early season, top of the table clash. And our Champions League group looks a little bit like this. We're comfortable at the moment. Leverkusen are likely to be our big opposition. But I think we're going to be comfortable. 2 games in, we're top of the group. Leverkusen behind us by 2 points. Marseille a whole 5 points behind us. If we manage to beat Leverkusen, we're pretty much through to the knockout rounds of the Champions League after 3 games because nobody's catching us. It's been a good start to the season, but these are 2 massive games and it could all go wrong. Or we could set a proper marker down for the naysayers and say, look, we are proper good, because Arsenal certainly have been a bogey team for the last however many years. No matter how good we've been over the course of a season, we've struggled to beat Arsenal in one-off games. If we can beat them today, then that's a massive step forward and shows that this young side have continued to get better, and we really are the best team that we've ever had here at Nuneaton. So we're going out there with Harry's in goal, a back four of Roberts, Ripert, Taraka and Coupler, with Barbas, Centurion and Ruzic in midfield. Serenok Nuhu in behind Alonso and Piazza. That's right, Charlie Jones sitting on the bench for a big game. I'm actually struggling to find a way to accommodate Piazza, Alonso and Jones in the same team. Alonso and Piazza are both in great form. Jones not so much, but he's our captain, our leader, has been a hero over many, many years. I played Piazza in midfield for a few games, but that just seems like a waste of Piazza, even though he's still averaging over an 8, despite play. I mean, let's just look at that in a little more detail, just to give some context of how good this man is. 4 goals from 5 starts, several of them he's played in midfield, if we have a little look. So he's played as a roaming playmaker and a carrilero, still playing very well in those positions as well. If we have a look on the coach reports, he's the best striker at the club, but he's also just behind Barbas as the best central midfielder at the club, and he's the best attacking midfielder at the club by a long way as well. He's just the best player I think I've ever had in Football Manager, certainly in context of the rest of the squad. He is incredible. But we're playing him up front today because it's a big game. Let's get into that big game. And it's nice having Charlie Jones sat down there on the bench, ready to come on if we need him, because that's a nice substitution to be able to make if you need a goal with half an hour. Much apologies, that was Charlie Jones' agent on the phone. Not at all happy at this whole not starting him situation, but he'll get over it because we're going to have a good game. Yes, we're going to play well. Come on, fingers crossed. I've not even had my first sip of coffee of the day yet. So that whole Charlie Jones decision, that could be a caffeine-deprived idiot's decision. Or it could be a clear-thinking, not yet polluted by caffeine, genius decision. I guess we'll find out as the match goes on and as I drink this coffee. Which, by the way, happy lollujo day mugs, still available from my merch store. I don't actually remember the link to it. I think it's lollujo.fm/store. But clearly, when I plug my merch, which is very, very irregular, we concede goals, which is, I mean, where's my coffee? Can we blame that on Charlie Jones not being in the team? Goodness me. I mean, it was a good finish. I'll let him have that, but it is the guy who took the corner. And Harry's probably could have done a little bit better. I'm not going to read too much into that. That's not a tactical disaster. That was just a moment of brilliance from one of the Arsenal players, who, by the way, they still don't play Twan regularly, which blows my mind because he was so very good for us. Dare I say, better than Nuhu. If we had Twan, he would be playing every game, and we'd all be mourning the end of Nuhu's career, but he just sits on Arsenal's bench, and I don't understand it. Rosic plays it eventually. I mean, that went through about 3 players before eventually finding Nuhu. There is Piazza, and that ball looks like it's in the goal to me, but apparently those ones don't count. Piazza again getting involved. Rosic in midfield to Barbas. Barbas back to Centurion and Rosic. I like this midfield 3. I don't know where Caminero fits back in. What's his face? Centurion has been looking very good since he's had this extended run in the team again, to the point where he's keeping Francisco out of the side, him and Rosic. So we've got only Barbas really as a survivor from last year's midfield 3. That was a good midfield 3. Right, we need to sort ourselves out in this second half. This is that exact scenario that I was talking about. Needing a goal going into the second half. We've got Charlie Jones sat there ready to come on as and when we need him. Alonso's just looking over his shoulder constantly. Although Piazza's more tired and having a poorer game, we all know that if one of them's coming off, it's Alonso. Although looking at that, Nuhu's having a terrible game. And maybe we just do the cheaty. I mean, you know, we've got a Premier League to win. Let's just go for it. We've done this a few times over the last sort of 3 or 4 seasons now. When in doubt, when it's needed, we do this. I actually quite like having Tate in the midfield when I do this, but it involves taking off Centurion, and I don't really want to take him off just yet, because he's not been playing disastrously. But Centurion can come off, then Rosic drops into the middle, and Tate, as the roaming playmaker on the right-hand side, is a useful midfield as well. Certainly with the front 3, that Tate's a bit of an expert at the Steven Gerrard style ball over the top for attackers to chase onto. Although that was a beauty. What a beautiful example of that exact pass. Was it Barbas who played that pass? It certainly wasn't Tate, because he's not on the pitch yet. But it was an absolute beauty. Let's have a little look. Who is it? Oh, it is Centurion. No, it isn't. It's Barbas. No, it's Rosic. Goodness me, Kev. What a pass from Rosic. That was incredible. Piazza's in behind, squares it to Jones, and the joy of the 3 strikers already doing their job. And there you go. Charlie Jones' agent. No need to interrupt my videos from now on. He came on. He got his goal. What are you moaning about? Right, it is time to bring on Tate, because I want more of that. And Tate is good at it. This is what we spent £37 million on. Look at that. We've got an entire front 6. Everybody expert at their positions. What a situation to be in. So Tate can come on. Purely to do that, I want Tate playing quarterback. I want him just sitting there, knocking the ball over the top to those front 3 to chase. They're all quick. They're all capable of getting on the end of balls like that. They can tear Arsenal's defence apart if given the opportunity to do it. And that's what we want from Tate. Tate's now made his England debut and he's played more games for England this season than he has for us. So perhaps he's not as rubbish as we all thought he might have been after we spent all that money on him. But yeah, he might still go down as a regret. We'll see. Right, Alonso is coming off. I've just got to decide, am I bringing on Mustafa? I think I'm going to bring on Simon Ganley, the youngster. Just because I want you to see him. He's had a few opportunities already this season and is looking good. Him and Jones together is a nice young English attack. I think that's going to be England's front 2 for years to come. A wonder kid striker coming on with 10 minutes to go. Come on, he's got winner written all over him, surely. See, we did get a new striker this summer. We got Simon Ganley. But apparently we're going to see nothing of him. I mean, a 1-1 draw against Arsenal, based on our track record against him, is not a disaster. Let's just hope we don't face him in the Champions League, because it seems they're still a team that we can't really beat, even at home, when we're playing. We've played really well in this second half. If we'd have lined up like this in the first half, I think we'd have won that game, even though we've mugged them with a draw there, according to our clear-cut chances. But let's not worry too much about that. We are still top of the league, and now we face Leverkusen in the competition that we want to win. Just the one change for the Leverkusen game, then Jones back in for Alonso, because how do I not bring him in after him coming on and grabbing the equaliser against Arsenal? Other than that, the team is unchanged, other than the fact we don't have Ganley on the bench because he's not registered in our Champions League squad, because being 19 and English, I didn't think he'd have to be. But apparently because he's not our 19-year-old in English, because we signed him when he was 19, that means he does still need to be registered. I don't understand it, because I remember Lazic and Jokic over the years, they never had to be registered when they were younger, I guess because we signed them when they were 18. So it seems a little bit silly that they were both able to be extras in the Champions League for all that time, but we have a young English striker who we can't put in our Champions League squad without sacrificing somebody else, despite the fact he doesn't need to be registered for our Premier League squad. You'd think after all this time I'd know squad registration rules, but apparently I don't. Right, are we winning yet? I'd quite like to be winning. I don't actually know how good Leverkusen are. Quite good, it seems. Dan Fisher warned us about Stella before the match. I thought it was a warning about the club bar, but apparently they've got a striker called Stella. Dan Fisher's been in the media a lot lately, by the way. He comments on Piazza after every game. He was warning us about he's the head of youth development at Port Vale. I don't know what makes Dan Fisher an expert on Champions League football, but apparently he knew that guy was any good. Perhaps we need to bring Fisher in. But then James Ball is the guy who signed Ganley for us. So that's what a real head of youth development does. Signs the hottest young wonder kid striker in English football from the obscurity of the Norwegian leagues when no one knew he was there. Dan Fisher just tells us watch out for Stella, which, I mean, that's advice I've been getting since I was a teenager. Right, Centurion can't get the ball into... I mean, it was out to Coupler, and Coupler missed the cross, actually. It wasn't Centurion's fault. Centurion to Nuhu. Barbas, very far forward for Barbas, ahead of Nuhu. Piazza plays Jones in, and Jones with a good attempt, but it's straight at their keeper, who, I mean, not straight at him. It was a half-decent save, wasn't it? I thought, there's that Stella again in midfield for Leverkusen. If we lose this one, then we may as well just end the save here, because that tells me that we're not as good as Leverkusen. And if we're not as good as Leverkusen, we're not winning the Champions League this season, are we? This is a home game as well. We're usually good in our home games. It's usually the away ties that we struggle. Even in the group stages in previous years, we've found the away ties quite difficult. But I think the Marseille game we played recently, I think that was away from home, and we were pretty good against them. Marseille, I think, are a half-decent side. Shouldn't be at our level, but could be a potential banana skin away from home. But losing at home to Leverkusen, this doesn't bode well. I might re-record my intro. You know, it's all part of the storytelling. A good story, you have to have your darkest night just before the brightest day. This is our low point. If we're going to have a real proper fairy tale storytelling ending, then it's got to look rough, right up until the minute when the hero comes along and saves us. The hero might not even be here yet. Perhaps we sign him in January. Perhaps it's Nuhu. Perhaps it's Piazza. But it's supposed to look hard. It's supposed to look like it's going to all fall apart. And then at the last minute, it all comes together beautifully. That's how it's supposed to work. Right, we're going to 3 up front again. We might just do this. Nuhu's had 2 really poor games today. That is not like him at all. Perhaps did he realise the cameras were on? Because he's been playing like off-camera Nuhu, despite the camera being on. I wonder if I'm perhaps not recording. That's the only explanation for Nuhu playing as poorly as he is. I think I'm then going to make the same change in midfield that I've been making recently. I might just have to start starting Tate. I spent all that money on him, and I like that as a midfield 3. It's nicely balanced. Have we got time to drag our way back into this game? An equaliser's fine. An equaliser leaves us top of the group. Taraka, massive ball forward towards Alonso, who can't quite get onto the end of it because Robalski was in his way. Right, Taraka again. Take 2. Just lump it forward again. No, plays it forward to Coupler. That's probably a more effective pass, actually. And here's Tate. See, he's the man we want playing that ball over the top, not squaring it inside to Barbas. Have another go. Forward to Alonso. Alonso to Barbas. Barbas plays it into Mustafa brilliantly. Piazza's in the middle. So's Alonso. And that should have been 1-1. That was a massive chance. Just like the Arsenal game, we're behind on clear-cut chances. It is a little bit worrying that not only are we having a couple of poor results, a couple of poor games, we're not creating chances in them either. That run of games that started this season, we were having 23, 25 shots a game. And now we're just in double figures. Now, there's the pass from Tate. I warned you he had it in him. What a pass from Tate. And what a finish from Alonso. That is what we've just spent £37.5 million on. Was it Coupler? I'm going to look a right moron if it was. No, it was Tate. Look at that. Money well spent. I'm sure you'll agree. Having that, which we've never had before, having that could be a difference maker in these Champions League games. What a pass. We have our own little Steven Gerrard knocking around in our midfield. I mean, to be fair, that's all he can do. He can just do those passes. I've not actually seen him really be involved in the rest of any other games, but he's done that a number of times for us now. And him doing that with 3 up front for him to aim for, it's so exploity, but I don't care. I've got a Champions League to win, and let's face it, I've got like a week left of being able to use an exploit tactic that I've never used really before FM19 comes out and ruins exploit tactics forever. So I might have to do that. I'm happy with that goal. I'm very happy. I've never been so happy with 2 1-alls. Things will improve tomorrow. If you've enjoyed that, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.